Sve što treba da znam u životu naučio sam u 2. razredu osnovne škole u učionici gospođe Brašić. To je kada je dolazio u Beograd pre 2,5 godine rekao ambasador Amerike Kristofer Hil.
You know, I think anybody, whether you're a diplomat or anybody, ought to be listening more than 50% of the time. I mean, you don't learn when you're talking.
Koje to diplomatske veštine posjeduje Hil, koga u Srbiji hvale i nekadašnji SPS-ovci i nekadašnji DOS-ovci?
I think anyone who serves here, whether you're a foreign diplomat or a business person or whoever, you really want to see this country succeed.
Šta to sve jedan diplomata treba da radi kada dođe u zemlju?
I think when you're in a public position, and being U.S. ambassador here, I'm in a public position, people are going to say things that are factually untrue, completely factually untrue. So the question is, what are you going to do about it?
Od koga je najviše učio u diplomatiji? Od svog oca ili od nekadašnjeg mentora Igelbergera, koji je svojevremeno bio i ambasador američki u Beogradu, ali i državni sekretar Sjedinjenih Američkih Država?
Obviously, one's family, they teach you manners, they teach you how to listen and not talk. Maybe most important, I learned from mistakes.
Da li profesionalni diplomata mora da bude škrt na rečima i fokusiran na šutiranje lopte napred?
You can share your opinion or not. And sometimes you don't want to share your opinion because you're very conscious of the fact that this is not about me. This is about Serbia, and whatever I think is really not the issue.
Da li je zadovoljan onim što je kao ambasador uradio u Srbiji do sada?
It's been a great experience here, but I'm continuing that experience every day, including with this interview.
Da li je Beograd postao ponovo njegova druga kuća? To sve večeras pitamo ambasadora Sjedinjenih Američkih Država u Srbiji. Kristofer Hil je naš gost večeras. Vaša ekscelencijo, hvala vam što ste nas ugostili kod vas u kući, što imamo priliku da se osjećamo prijatno ovde, iako smo od vaše kuće malo pretvorili dnevnu sobu u televizijski studio, ali želeli smo da napravimo jedan drugačiji razgovor sa vama, pošto ste već 2 godine u Srbiji. Čini mi se da ste jedan od retkih ambasadora američkih koji se do te mere infiltrirao u društvo Srbije. Kad kažem društvo, ne krijete se, tu ste, prosto se nama medijima čini uvek dostupni za razgovor. Ono što ste rekli kada ste stupili na dužnost ambasadora Sjedinjenih Američkih Država, citirat ću vas, bilo je: nisam bio ovde mnogo vremena, ali imam mnogo stvari da naučim o Srbiji. I nama se to tada činilo kao jedna onako učtiva izjava, prava diplomatska izjava, pa me interesuje šta ste naučili za ove 2 godine i malo više?
You know, I think anybody, whether you're a diplomat or anybody, ought to be listening more than 50% of the time. I mean, you don't learn when you're talking. So to be in Serbia, a country that has really been on quite a journey, quite a rapid journey, there's been a lot to learn. The first thing is just the sense of how the country has moved forward. The sense of, what are the industries that are important. It's no longer, necessarily an old industrial facility. It's a very modern economy, often a high-tech economy. There's a standard here that didn't exist before. When I was here in the late stages of Tito, you'd buy your wine and it had a kind of bottle cap, looked like a Coca-Cola bottle, and now, you need a corkscrew like everyone else. So I think Serbia is just a very different country. There's, I'm not suggesting it doesn't have a long way to go. I mean, we all have a long way to go, but it's clearly on this journey. And I think anyone who serves here, whether you're a foreign diplomat or a business person or whoever, you really want to see this country succeed.
Da, ali je zemlja sa puno rana u međuvremenu? Dakle, od tog vremena kada ste je upoznali sa tim čepovima za pivo, kako kažete, umesto pravog čepa za vino, dobila je bušne flašu, neko će reći. Dakle, i isto tako će neko konstatovati da ste i vi stvarali tu sliku koja je danas u Srbiji, tu geostratešku poziciju njenu, da ste i vi na neki način učestvovali u njenoj gradnji. Kada je reč o tome da ste jako dobro poznavali zemlju u vreme kada se zemlja raspadala, ne pričam sada o Srbiji, pričamo o bivšoj Jugoslaviji, da ste upoznali Srbiju sa sve Kosovom kao neupitnim delom njene teritorije, a danas je to naše jedno od bolnijih pitanja. Dakle, kada se priča, ali stići ćemo do Kosova i svega toga, kada se priča o poziciji Srbije, čini mi se da vi nemate više nikakvu dilemu da vidite, ne vi nas na zapadu, nego da vidite da mi sebe vidimo na zapadu i to su poruke koje šaljete. S druge strane, te poruke vrlo često naiđu na jednu vrstu nerazumevanja i doživljene su kao provokacija u jednom delu medija. Recimo, evo, na konferenciji povodom 20 godina Centra za studije Sjedinjenih Američkih Država na FPN-u ste izjavili da se Srbija definitivno okreće zapadu, što pokazuje ekonomski, socijalni i politički odnosi. I onda, recimo, možete na Sputniku da pročitate da je to jedna nediplomatska izjava i da je to vaša konstatacija, recimo, da se Srbija distancira time od Rusije. Je li imate potrebu nekad da objasnite vaše izjave? Šta zapravo vi želite da kažete? Jel želite da poručite da se mi distanciramo od Rusije ili nešto drugo?
Yes, I think you're distancing from Russia. If you look around the world to see who's getting closer, who's trying to get closer to Russia, there are very few countries. I mean, we're talking maybe Belarus, although they're already very close. We're maybe talking North Korea. I mean, there are very few countries who are getting close to Russia right now. So I think Serbia, rather than talk about who it's distancing from, I think you can see where it's heading, what the direction is. And we've seen an extraordinary number of visits in Serbia. And I think what's important for any foreign diplomat to understand is Serbia is going to choose its friends. We're not here to say you can talk to him and not talk to that person.
And I think ko je dobar, ko je loš.
Yeah.
Okay.
I may, if you ask me, and you just did about Russia, but I don't spend a lot of time here talking about third countries. I talk about the U.S. and Serbia, and I think it's pretty clear where Serbia wants to go. Not everyone in this country has gotten the memo yet, but I think it's pretty clear where Serbia wants to go. They want to go with modern economies. They want to really, I think, be close to countries, to countries in the West, but I don't think Serbia wants to be told who they can talk to. So if Serbia wants to have visitors from India or wherever, that's Serbia's business. And so the issue is not here to change Serbia behavior. I think to some extent we're trying to shape an environment where Serbia will see where it wants to go, but that's ultimately going to be up to Serbs. And I feel very strongly about this. And I know I say this to the point where people almost fall asleep when I say this, but I think it's very important that Serbia has choices to make, and it's up to the Serbs to make those choices. We want a good relationship with Serbia. I think we have a set of expectations from Serbia. I think Serbia wants some expectations from us, so I think we can
Šta očekujete od Srbije? Kada kažete mi imamo some expectations, onda mi odmah stavimo ovako nekoliko znakova. Serbia,
in being a European country, the Europeans are going to ask for certain things from Serbia. That's already the case. If Serbia has an aspiration to join Europe, Serbia needs to understand that there are some things that the Europeans are asking for, whether it's rule of law, whether it's independent media, all these kinds of questions. And if Serbia wants to go in that direction, we want to help Serbia. So again, we are not telling Serbia what to do, because I understand that. We in America, we don't listen to other countries tell us what to do. We certainly don't expect you to do the same. So we can work these through. It's a question of choice. And
da, jeste pitanje izbora, naravno da jeste, ali kod nas uvek postoji to pitanje da li su ti kriterijumi slobode medija, recimo baš pa u Americi, kriterijumi koji su demokratski, da li su vaše vladavine prava te koje mi treba da usvajamo. Imamo mnogo dilema, isto kao što ih verovatno ima i unutar same Amerike.
You know, I think it's very important, especially in this day that we live in this era that we live in. It's not a question of saying you have to adopt our model. Obviously, we have a very different history. We have a very different makeup of our population than Serbia does. It's not about that at all. But there are certain standards of behavior that I think we should all expect of each other. And respect is one of them. Listening to the others is another one. Trying to find areas of cooperation, working together, whether it's peacekeeping in the Middle East or some issues like that. We need to find ways where we can cooperate. And I don't think that's so difficult with Serbia, because I think we have a kind of common vision of what we would like to see in this world. And we want to see a lot more respect for one another. And we certainly want to see peace and security in this region, but also in the broader world.
Vi ste često zbog nekih vaših izjava predmet kritika u medijima. I čini mi se da ne reagujete na to, da su to za vas slobode. Može svako da kaže u profesionalnom smislu, bez uvreda, šta misli, kritičko mišljenje da izrazi prema nekome, pa čak i prema vama. Ali isto tako niste reagovali ni kada smo podsjećali mi iz medija ko ste zapravo vi kada ste dolazili ovde. Pa tada, sećate se da ta priča, to je bila saradnja 90-ih sa Holbrookom, a vrlo dobro znate kako mi u Srbiji posle svega što se desilo 99. Dakle, gledamo na to vreme. Bili ste uključeni u dejtonske pregovore i nekako se činilo da ćete se jako dobro razumeti sa opozicijom u Srbiji, baš iz razloga te vaše neke prošlosti u smislu poznavanja političkih prilika ovde. I kada je krenula priča o litijumu, osetili ste nešto u Srbiji, osetili ste, sigurna sam, nešto što osjeća jedan deo medija, osjeća jedan deo političara, političkih aktivista. Kada vam neko kaže da ste na platnom spisku predsjednika Srbije, a to vam kaže lider najveće opozicione stranke, jel smatrate da je u Srbiji sloboda govora nešto o čemu ne treba da se priča, jer evo to može da se danas u Srbiji kaže putem saopštenja američkom ambasadoru i da to objave svi mediji. Jel su to slobode koje želimo?
Well, you know, I think when you're in a public position, and being U.S. ambassador here, I'm in a public position, people are going to say things that are factually untrue, completely factually untrue. So the question is, what are you going to do about it? And I don't think communicating with other people through the media is very effective, and not to speak of very polite. So I prefer to speak to people directly. And I do find that there is a sense in Serbia. You can say what you want. We have that same kind of sense in the U.S. So if you can't take that, I mean, then you probably are in the wrong business. You have to be willing to accept criticism, even completely unfair and inaccurate criticism.
A kako rešite to da kada vam jedan opozicioni lider kaže da ste na platnom spisku, recimo, evo, konkretno vas to pitam, predsjednika države, vi mu ne odgovorite ništa u medijima, ali da li odgovorite nekako? Da se čujete sa njim? Šta radite u tim situacijama? Interesuje me kako to rešavate.
Well, no, I don't speak through the media on this, and I'm about to disappoint you in that way because I'm not going to speak through the media. I think it just raises temperatures, and then you get more and more, you turn it into a debate. So when things are, frankly, way off base or way wrong, I'm not going to address things like that in the media. And by the way, when you're in diplomacy, you remember one thing, which is this is not about me. This is about my country. This is about Serbia. This is about a relationship between two countries. It is not about me. And often people try to turn it into some kind of personal issue. And I just have to say no to that and ignore it and keep doing what I'm doing.
Kada se priča uopšte o ambasadoru Amerike u Srbiji tokom ovih prethodnih 20 godina, svašta ste i vi čuli od toga da je upravo neko ko predstavlja Ameriku u ovoj državi postavljao vlade, ministre, da je imao i tekako uticaja na unutrašnju politiku u Srbiji. Dakle, je li imate vi danas uticaja na unutrašnju politiku Srbije? I ako imate, kakav je taj uticaj?
You know, whether I have influence or not is up to people who listen to me. If I say something that people agree with, they're free to agree with me. But it's not my job to tell people in Serbia who should be their leaders, or to tell people in Serbia how they should organize themselves. It's not my job. And, in America, if you have a foreign diplomat telling people you ought to vote for this guy or not that guy, I mean, we don't accept that very well, so I wouldn't expect people in Serbia to do it. You know, what you try to do, going back to your first question, is to do a lot of listening, to try to understand what's going on. If people ask your opinion, you can share your opinion or not. And sometimes you don't want to share your opinion because you're very conscious of the fact that this is not about me. This is about Serbia, and whatever I think is really not the issue.
Da, ali smo isto tako videli u Americi, evo, barem baš mnogo pratimo medije, pogotovo zbog američkih izbora, i tekako se američko društvo opredeljuje i javno, što je nama važno. Kad kažem javno, mislim i na javne ličnosti, mislim i na novinare, mislim i na cele redakcije koje pružaju podršku jednoj ili drugoj strani. Dakle, vrlo polarizovana atmosfera u Americi, što se približavaju više izbori za predsjednika, to možemo da vidimo i nekako na društvenim mrežama, velike kampanje u koje je uloženo veliki novac. I baš mi se čini da se određujete kao društvo. Da vrlo jasno govorite i šta mislite i za koga ste, i nekako mi se, možda grešim, ali stvarno se stiče utisak da nema više ničega u rukavicama, ničeg uvijenog.
No, I understand that phenomena, and it's not just in the U.S., certainly not just in Serbia. It's all over the world. There's a great kind of polarization going on in the world. People often are expressing opinions that are disproportionate to their knowledge of a situation. I mean, opinionating is very easy. People read something in the internet and they have an opinion about it, which is fine. But as a diplomat doesn't mean I'm in politics. I'm not in politics. I'm in policy. I'm trying to get things done vis-a-vis the U.S. and another country. So how do I do that? I try to lay out the logic of getting it done, but ultimately it's up to the person listening to decide whether they agree with me. And so, I think we need to tone this down a little in the world, where this idea of yelling at people and demanding that people follow them or else, it's really kind of excessive right now, and I think people need to calm down a little in this. And we certainly have this problem in the U.S., but it is not limited to the U.S. or Serbia.
Naravno da nije. Kakvi ste zaista odnosima sa predsjednikom Srbije, sa predsjednikom Vučićem? Dakle, biste mogli nekako da definišete te odnose? Kako biste ih nazvali?
I don't know what I would call it, except to say it's definitely appropriate, because if you're the U.S. ambassador in Serbia, you'd better have a relationship with the leader of Serbia, and it better be a relationship where you understand each other and try to talk through problems. So I'd call it a good relationship, and I would hope to have that with any leaders in Serbia or anywhere else. We need to be able to talk to each other, not just in that relationship, but in many relationships. And I'm really someone who has spent a lot of time trying to understand other people's point of view, even if I didn't understand it at first. And again, I go back to that point. We need to be better listeners.
Koliko je česta ta komunikacija? Kad kažete treba da imamo dobru komunikaciju, koliko je ona česta? Koliko je uobičajeno da bude česta ta vrsta komunikacije ambasadora?
I really am not you mean, do we speak once a day? Do we speak once a month? Do we speak
više mislim da li kada su političke neke teme, da li je intenzivirana komunikacija, da li zavisi od situacije do situacije i da li se uključujete vi onda kada je samo u pitanju američki interes ili ako vidite da je Srbiji nešto potrebno, a vi možete da pomognete, dakle, pružate tu vrstu proaktivnosti.
I think in any situation, remember, this is my 5th ambassadorship. I've had some others. And so what you want to be is in a position that if there's something urgent from your side, you need to be able to reach the leadership of the country to which you're accredited. You need to be able to have that kind of relationship. And you need to keep the communication lines open, and you need to be assured that when Washington wants to know something, you are able to convey that. So that's part of the professional habit of a diplomat, is to keep communications open. In short, what we really need to do is always have the door open. And when you're in situations where you can't reach people, where people don't want to talk to you, you probably are in a bad situation. It's not going to work.
Da, i mi pričamo ovde i o politici i ekonomiji. Dakle, mesto ambasadora podrazumeva da ćete i na jednom i na drugom polju pokušavati da naše odnose učinite boljim. Pomenuli smo litijum, vi ste rekli da je to otvaranje ekonomske budućnosti Srbije, ukoliko sve to bude bilo po zakonima i ukoliko se ispostavi da je moguće iskopavati litijum bezmetno. I dakle, vi u protestima ste rekli da vidite borbu protiv tog puta. Gde Srbiju u budućnosti vodi litijum ekonomski? Šta je to što jedan deo populacije ne razume?
Well, first of all, if Serbia is going to have lithium as part of its future, if Serbia is going to be able to make use of this deposit of lithium, which is one of the biggest and one of the best in Europe, that's going to be up to Serbia. If my opinion is asked, and I think it's a real opportunity for the Serbian people. But obviously they need to be comfortable with it. They need to feel that this really works. And there's been, I think, a debate in this country to try to answer questions and to try to deal with this. I think it's a question that needs to be addressed using science. I think that's very important. More science than not. And so it's going to be up to Serbia. I'm not here to tell Serbs you got to have lithium. That's up to Serbia. We have lithium deposits in the United States. We have some in the East. We have some in the West. We find lithium is important. It's the primary means of having electric vehicles. That's clearly part of the future. So we'll have to see what Serbia decides. I think it was appropriate to have a discussion in the parliament. And I think when Serbia has these discussions among elected officials, Serbia will need to know. Serbia will do what it has to do. It's not up to foreigners to tell Serbia what to do. I feel very strongly about that, and I know I repeat myself all the time. But I really think I think it's very important for people in Serbia to understand it's in their hands. I mean, this lithium deposit is in Serbia, so Serbs, you need to make up your own mind about this.
Da, pa dobro, i nekako mi se čini da kada nam razni ljudi koji su foreigners, stranci, dakle, kako vi kažete, kažu morate sami da odlučite, onda i to je tema, kako sami da odlučimo, pa šta to znači, šta su nam poručili, šta nam poručuje ambasador američki, da treba da idemo na neku vrstu referenduma, da treba da se ide, ne znam, na nove izbore, da se u Skupštini ne može o tome razgovarati. Dakle, i saveti se uvek, svako savet shvata na drugačiji način. Zato sam vas i pitala šta znači to ekonomska budućnost Srbije koju nam otvara litijum.
You know, Serbia, I think, is a successful country. It's on the small end of countries. It has 6.5 million people. Their country is much bigger than Serbia. Their country is smaller than Serbia. So when a country of 6.5 million has a deposit of a critical mineral, I think it's important for that country to decide what to do with that deposit and to ask as many questions and discuss the matter as much as possible and ultimately make a decision. I am not telling Serbia how to make decisions on this. Serbia has elected officials. Serbia has made many decisions, and I think the decisions that Serbia has made to date on many issues point Serbia in the direction of the West. I think the fact that Serbia wants to be a member of the European Union is one of those decisions. So again, it is not for me to tell you how to resolve your lithium problem. Maybe you would be happier if you didn't have such a decision to make, but I think it's up to Serbia.
Da, kako ko? Ja, kada se uopšte priča o stvarima kao što su kritične mineralne sirovine, čini mi se da bismo pre 20 godina, da smo radili ovaj intervju, pričali o tome, zamislite kada bi se ispostavilo da u Srbiji postoji litijum, šta bi to potencijalno moglo da donese našoj zemlji, ali isto tako postoje standardi i zakoni u ovoj zemlji koje treba da se sprovode. Vi ste rekli da je Srbija potpisivanjem ugovora o izgradnji solarnih elektrana napravila, koji je potpisan ove nedelje, napravila veliki korak ka energetskoj nezavisnosti i čistoj energiji. Dakle, kada se kaže ovo je veliki dan za neku zemlju iz mnogo razloga, koji su to razlozi i zbog čega je potpisivanje ovog ugovora veliki dan za Srbiju?
You know, Serbia is going to need a lot more electricity in the future. And if you look at Serbia's ability today to produce electricity, it's kind of already at its limit. It needs to find other means to produce it. Serbia's coal resources are dwindling. Serbia, in fact, has to import coal in trucks, actually, from places like Bosnia. Serbia clearly needs more energy, more sources of energy in order to produce more electricity. So when Serbia sits down with a major American company that produces solar energy, that has a partner from the Republic of Korea, a country I know pretty well, having served there, and to see the opportunity for Serbia to have this very large, one of the largest solar facilities, again, in Europe. It'll be a combination of producing electricity and then holding the electricity in the form of batteries. This is a very modern concept. We are talking about 2 million panels of solar, and to understand solar energy today is to understand a technology that has grown by leaps and bounds in the last 10 years. So again, this is something that I think Serbia has looked at very closely and has made an important decision, and we absolutely support that decision.
Dakle, članice Američke privredne komore u poslednje 2 decenije, ovo je podatak koji smo našli, su uložile $14 milijardi u Srbiju i zapošljavaju oko 100.000 ljudi. Dakle, ono što jeste činjenica i o čemu vi pričate, ističete da smo prošli dug put mi ka Evropskoj uniji za ovih 20 i nešto godina, prema našim očekivanjima, onih koji nisu evroskeptici u Srbiji. Trebalo je već davno da budemo u Evropskoj uniji, nekako se osjećamo kao neko koji je, eto, bez mnogo razloga ostavljen u toj nekoj čekaonici, kako se sada naziva, recimo, berlinski proces, čekaonica za Zapadni Balkan u Evropsku uniju. Dakle, Amerika ne voli neutralnost, to je izjavio Jeffrey Sachs. Je li to naš najveći problem? Kada bi trebalo da nas savetujete, jel smo mi neutralni? Kako nas vi doživljavate?
You know, I don't see Serbia as a neutral country. I think you've made a civilizational choice. You're in Europe. Whether you like it or not, you're in Europe. You have a lot of other relationships around the world. Some interesting relationships. You had a foreign minister a few weeks ago who was off in Southeast Asia. That's a long way from Serbia. You have relationships in Africa. You have relationships in the Middle East. I think this is very important to Serbia. It's something I think your people understand. I mean, this is a country that has had these relationships for a while. I think that's all very positive, but ultimately you're here in Europe, and you're a European country. The European Union, I think, is one of the boldest experiments in Europe in the last few centuries. There's been nothing like it in peacetime Europe. What has happened with the European Union. If I were you, I'd want to be a part of it. And as an American diplomat, it's very easy for us to say, you know, they should just let everyone in. I wish they could, and I wish it didn't have to wait. You know, probably in addition to not liking to be told what to do, Americans also have a certain sense of impatience. So I well understand the impatience going on here, but I think it's really worth the wait and worth doing what they want you to do in order to join. And I don't think you will ever have a regret about that in the future.
Samo kad nas prime jednog dana. Ako se to ikada desi, pošto postoje neki analitičari koji će reći pa preći se Evropska unija raspasti nego što ćemo mi u Evropsku uniju ući. I isto tako...
I don't think it's that difficult. Look, I mean, American diplomats, we're always offering places in the European Union because it's not our union, but I think you're going to get there. And, you know, I think Serbs sometimes, I mean, I don't mean to make cultural generalizations about Serbs, but, you know, come on, let's look at the glass half full and let's kind of go for it and not always look at the problems. Problems usually argue for themselves. Why don't you look at something different?
Jeste, pa slažem se, ali najoptimističniji su mislili da ako se ne uđe u Evropsku uniju do 2020. Džaba Evropska unija, a evo sad je 24. Zato sam vas i pitala. Ali ono što...
I don't blame you for asking. I don't blame you for being impatient. If I were a Serb, I'd be very impatient. But you're going in the right direction, so why don't you just keep going and you're going to get there.
Kada se priča o tim direkcijama, pravcima gde mi idemo, onda vam se desi da na mestu gde očekujete da dobijete puno razumevanja, recimo kao što su Ujedinjene nacije, vi dobijete vrlo često neka nerazumevanja od strane, obično će se reći u Srbiji, velikih i moćnih zemalja, misleći se na zapad. Dakle, kako ste vi čuli glas, recimo, predsjednika Srbije, taj govor u Ujedinjenim nacijama? Verujem da ste ga ispratili. Jel vole veliki da čuju kritike na svoj račun, na pozornici?
Yeah, I watched that speech. And, you know, one thing in this modern communication age is there's no such thing as just speaking to one audience. If one audience is listening, everyone's listening. And so, yeah, I think I understand why you're asking the question. I'm not the speechwriter, nor am I a person who tells Serbs what kind of speeches to give. But, yeah, I think you have to understand that when you give a speech that has a lot of emotion and maybe even some frustration, not everyone's going to understand that.
Frustracije.
Yeah, I think in Serbia, there's a lot of frustration with the previous decades, even centuries. I understand that. So I think Serbia, needs to understand that some people will understand it and some people won't. And there's no such thing as segmenting audiences. So you're never just speaking to a Serbian audience. You're going to be speaking to audiences that don't know very much about Serbia at all.
Da, pa dobro, znate šta, kad ste veći i moćni, onda kažete kad se neko žali, kad se neko osjeća da je prema njemu učinjena neka nepravda, kao što sam sigurna da se to osjećamo mi, onda kažete, pa dobro, šta ste, nemojte biti isfrustrirani, gledajte u budućnost, dignite glavu i krenite.
Yeah, there's an element of that. There's absolutely an element of that. And, but, we live in a busy world, a very big world and a very busy world. world. And so you cannot expect everyone to understand what you've been through. And I think... Well, you know, I try, and I have some data points on which to base an opinion, but a lot of people don't. And so when you look at the complexities of the Balkans today, and they're just as complex in many ways as they were 25 years ago, but the world is not focused on it right now. The world has terrible problems in the Middle East, terrible problem with the Russian aggression against Ukraine. I mean, huge economic problems around the world. So, you know, not everyone's going to stop and listen to everything about the Balkans. So those of us who are stationed here, those of us who are charged with working on these issues, we need to understand them, and I spend a lot of time trying to understand things.
Da, i kada kažete nismo u fokusu, mi u Srbiji kažemo dobro je da nismo u fokusu velikih sila, pogotovo da nismo u fokusu Amerike kada je reč o rešavanju našeg kosovskog problema. Mi se pozivamo na rezolucije, na potpisane sporazume 1244, rezolucija, briselski sporazum, Ohridski koji nije potpisan, ali bi trebalo da se poštuje. Onda pričamo o rezoluciji 1244, jedina oružana formacija koja može da bude na Kosovu je KFOR, međutim, dakle, upravo Amerika, ali ne samo Amerika, uz Tursku i Veliku Britaniju, najviše ulažu trenutno u transformaciju KBS-a u vojsku. Šta je vaš argument za takvu vrstu činjenja?
You know, I think there are issues where the United States and Serbia have disagreed. The U.S. recognized Kosovo some years ago.
Ali poštuju Ujedinjene nacije rezolucije, je li tako?
Yes, they do. And obviously this was a major issue. It was a major issue in 1999, a major issue in 2008. The U.S. made a decision, and that's where we are. So the question is, can we work together despite the fact that we have differences of opinion on some important issues that are important to you and important to us? My view is we can continue to work on issues even though we have disagreements. And I'm not here to tell you that we can agree on everything, but I am here to tell you that we'll do a lot of listening, we'll try to understand the situation, we'll try to move forward.
Dobro, samo mi ne razumem. Morate da shvatite da mnogo ljudi u Srbiji ne razume da kada postoje neka dokumenta koja su potpisana, a recimo nama još uvek niko nije rekao, kad kažem nama, mislim na našu državu, da rezolucija 1244 nije na snazi, a ona se ne poštuje, a Amerika koja se kao zemlja zalaže za vladavinu prava, za poštovanje zakona, za poštovanje potpisanog, radi nešto mimo te rezolucije. Ja vas samo pitam, koji su argumenti za to?
I understand. Yeah, I understand your point of view. I can't really relitigate the past. What I can do is look at where we are today and see whether there's scope for doing more together, and I think there is, even though we have some disagreements.
Dakle, kada...
You really expect me to change U.S. policy right here on television right now?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
I just hope that you can explain some things which are not
I think you understood from the U.S. perspective, what happened in 99 was no one is pleased about the developments in 99. They happened, and then we got to a situation 10 years later where you look at a situation and you look at what the choices were. None of the choices was great, and we made a choice to go ahead and recognize Kosovo. Serbia has made a different choice. Does that mean we can't talk to each other about a million other issues?
Naravno da možemo, samo što moramo da znamo da ako smo se nešto dogovorili, nešto potpisali, da ako imamo zajedničke interese, ne ljubav, nego zajedničke interese, da onda moramo da imamo i poverenje. Šta smo potpisali, vi ćete vaše ispuniti, mi ćemo naše ispuniti. U tom smislu ovo su, zato vas i pitam, potpisani papiri, jer se stalno priča o tome, ne znam, poručio Kurti iz Prištine da je ugrožena bezbednost u Prištine, da se plaši Srbije i tako dalje, a čini mi se da njega Amerika dobro razume kada on izrazi bojazan o bezbednosti ljudi koji žive tamo. Dakle, da li zaista vi mislite i koji je vaš stav da li Prištini preti bezbednosna opasnost od Srbije, kako Kurti vrlo često ume da naglasi?
Again, I don't want to talk about from what Mr. Kurti thinks. You're going to have to interview him and ask him those questions. What I can tell you is we want to make sure that we have a clear understanding with Serbia about what we're trying to accomplish through these talks. Our view is that Serbia has taken these talks seriously. This is a diplomatic process. Diplomacy involves talking. Talking takes a long time. So I understand people's frustration with this issue, but we are engaged. We are trying to help this situation. We're trying to make this region a better, more secure region. We're trying to make the situation in the Balkans much better than it's been in the past. And, that's what we're trying to do. I cannot promise any miracles here, and I can't promise to change other people's minds on this. But what I can promise you is that we are serious about trying to work through these issues, and we're serious about a process that leads the U.S. and Serbia to have a better relationship.
Jel mislite da i budućnost Srbije zavisi od američkih predsjedničkih izbora, kao što se to ovde vrlo često u medijima naglašava?
I don't know. You'll have to tell me that. I think the U.S. will get through our elections. We do it every 4 years. Many times it seemed we wouldn't get through the elections, and we surely have. So I think U.S. interests in Europe, which includes Serbia, those interests are enduring, and we'll stay with it. And we could talk about this after the election, but I think we're all going to be fine.
U Ameriku, bit ćete tamo za vreme izbora, jel?
No, I've already voted.
Glasali. Jel razumete recimo tu naklonjenost dela Srbije prema Trumpu? Neko će reći oni koji su onako proruski orijentisani, oni su i pro-trumpovski orijentisani u Srbiji. Jel ste uopšte razmišljali o tome?
You may have noticed that I don't like to talk about Serbia's internal political process. I don't like to talk about the U.S. internal political process. We have two big parties. They've elected candidates. They've chosen candidates. Why people in Serbia might like one candidate over the other, you'll have to ask people in Serbia, and there are plenty of them you can interview for that question. I don't know why they would like one candidate rather than the other. People in Serbia don't vote in the U.S. elections. Americans vote.
Ali više sam vas pitala da li ste primetili, ne da sad mi treba analiza da li vole ili ne, nego da li ste...
I think there are a lot of I think people in Serbia have a lot of different preferences. I haven't seen any polling data to suggest one over the other. You'll have to share that with me.
Da, znate šta, prošli put kad je Trump došao na mesto predsjednika Amerike, čak ste u Srbiji mogli da vidite i bilborde. Čestitke Trumpu. U Beogradu su, barem tako pišu naši mediji, boravili Gerald Kushner za Donalda Trumpa, ali i sin Donalda Trumpa, Donald Trump mlađi. Kako to funkcioniše u diplomatiji? Dakle, kada dođu, ipak su oni važni građani Amerike, tako da to kažem. Ambasada ima neke obaveze prema njima? Jeste ih vi ugostili? Da li uopšte vas interesuje što su oni bili ovde?
I think any American citizen, I don't care who they are, if they want to come visit the embassy, they are most welcomed. I was not aware of this visit before it happened, however.
Čuli ste, dakle, da kompanija Kushnera planira na mestu porušenog generalštaba u bombardovanju da napravi hotelski kompleks. Čak je i New York Times 18. marta objavio da je investicija vredna $500 miliona i da bi država Srbija prema predlogu ugovora trebalo da dobije 22% profita. Jeste učestvovali na bilo koji način u realizaciji ovih dogovora?
No, I have not. Not at all. No. I don't even know what eventually happened. So
ne znate ni da li je tačno. Jel?
What you just said, I cannot speak to whether it's correct, but if you like, I could ask a Serbian ministry, but you could probably do that.
Da, mi smo to već uradili.
Yeah.
Dobro. Recite mi, kako privodimo kraju ovaj razgovor, ono što je meni interesantno jeste da se, kada pričamo sa diplomatama uopšte koji provedu neko vreme u Srbiji, vi oformite ovde svoj život potpuno novi, nove prijatelje, ljude sa kojima volite više ili manje da provodite vreme. Je li imate neke planove? Od čega vama zavisi ta bliska budućnost? Imate jedan mandat? U kojoj vrsti iščekivanja ste?
You know, I really don't know what my future will be. Being ambassador here is a great honor, and I've really, really enjoyed my time here. What I do from here on in, I serve at the pleasure of the president, so we'll have to. It's not up to me, but I can speak also for my wife Julie, who's regretfully back in Florida dealing with the hurricane damage to our home there, but who has shared with me a real excitement and real pleasure at serving here in Serbia.
Da. Dakle, je pristojno da vas pitam šta vam je sve oštećeno na Floridi?
Yeah, the hurricane came right through our town, so our house had about a meter of water inside, and we had a little car there, but no longer. That also had a meter of water, so it was really serious flood damage, and so we have to figure out what we're going to do. It's not easy. It's very difficult.
Da, a verujem, velika pomoć, priča se da će se odvojiti od strane američke države za poplavljena i porušena područja na Floridi. Kada pravili najavu za emisiju, onda sam pomenula gospođu Brašić, koja je bila gošća mog programa svojevremeno, vaša učiteljica, i tada je pričala kako ste bili dobar đak i kako ste volili dinosauruse, pamti vas kao dečaka punog energije i entuzijazma, i vi ste, rekla sam u najavi, imali tu rečenicu: sve što sam naučio sam od gospođe Brašić u to vreme. Vaš otac je bio cenjeni diplomata, dakle, kako, kada neko kaže učio sam od oca, učio sam od učiteljica, onda sam učio kasnije od ljudi sa kojima sam radio posao, koliko su to sve zapravo diplomatske izjave? Od koga ste najviše naučili, onako iskreno, kad pričate vi žene i kažete da mi je samo danas da čujem savet jedne osobe u nekoj situaciji?
Yeah. Well, obviously one's family, they teach you manners, they teach you how to listen and not talk at certain times. So you learn a lot of manners from your parents. But I think in this kind of work, you learn from your mentors. You see people and you say, I want to be like that person. So, that's been very important to me. And then you just keep your eyes open and your ears open, and you learn a lot about the world. What I learned about the world is not just from the internet. I learned a lot of direct observations. And finally, maybe most important, I learned from mistakes. Mistakes are the ones that stick with me.
Gde je vaša kuća? Kada vas neko pita odakle ste, šta kažete? Je li to Florida?
Well, we have a house in Florida and then a house near Boston in a state called Rhode Island.
Da. Kako reaguju Srbi, s obzirom da ste vrlo onako druželjubivi, idete, slobodno šetate o Beogradu, osjećate se ovde dobrodošlim, bezbedno, pretpostavljam.
I feel very welcomed here. I really enjoy Belgrade in particular. I love my favorite part is walking from Kalemegdan, that is walking from the Middle Ages, and 20 minutes later you're in the 21st century as you walk down Kneza Mihailova. So I think it's a city that has much to show, and we've had many friends come visit us here, and we take them on those walks through Belgrade, and everyone loves it.
Da, zato što pre neki dan su mi baš rekle kolege, znaš da pitali smo ambasadora Hila u galeriji bez obezbeđenja. To je kod nas poprilično neverovatno da se važne diplomate šetaju, pogotovo američki ambasador se šeta tako po tržnom centru bez obezbeđenja. Jel možda želite da ostanete na Balkanu? Jel se vidite svoj život u budućnosti?
Well, I'm an American. I probably will live in America. That's my country. But I'd love to come back here.
Da. Pretpostavljam da ćete, kad kažete volite da se vratite i da ćete voliti da se vratite, nije da vas pratimo sada da odlazite, ali ovo sam vas više pitala pretpostavljajući da ćete posle ovog mandata u stvari i otići iz posla, jel? Je li to ideja? Ili ne zavisi od vas?
Well, at some point we all leave our jobs, and the question is what we've accomplished in those jobs, and whether we've achieved objectives, whether we've left something more to be accomplished. It's always a difficult process, but I think in any profession you also ought to leave room for the next person to succeed as well. So it's been a great experience here, but I'm continuing that experience every day, including with this interview.
Hvala mnogo na ovom razgovoru, hvala što ste nas ugostili ovde i hvala vam na odgovorima diplomatskim, ali ko ume da čita između redova, moći će mnogo toga da pročita. Hvala vam, ambasador.
Okay.